Okay, greetings, Jideh, Shieldrum Records. So tonight we will talk a bit about some sound design. So let's switch on the image. So I will use this old keyboard to demonstrate everything. So what will happen tonight? In some synth, like this one, we have several parts which can be interesting for next composition. For example, we have several drums. So several drums which can be played at several tempos. So this model is quite simple with only 8 different drum beats, some bass accompaniment section. And the good thing is that at the start of this keyboard, so this is the CASIO tone MT45, at the start until this, let's say there's 1 octave and a half, we have the bass. And then after the F, we go on to the sound we select here. So there's also a simple sound card inside, so there's only 8 sounds. So they sound pretty cheap and simple, but tonight we will see how we can get the blueprint of it. I already made a short video, a 20-minute video about this. There's 2 years or 3 years ago. But yeah, we will go a bit more in detail in this and see what can be the best technique to sample or to capture some wavetable inside of those synths. So, for example, let me check the clarinet sound. So on this keyboard below, you hear the original CASIO tone going through the audio in track. Okay, and there's above. This is the same sound, but I prepared this sound. I prepared this sound into a wavetable synth from Ableton. So wavetable synth, like Serum. Serum is a wavetable synth. Pigment also, and there's a few other on the market. And I know that people who start who just want to play music don't go often into some deep synth, but what is interesting for our case is we need the sound print of this old keyboard, and we will use a complex keyboard from today, a complex synth, to achieve this sound, which means that we don't need to know everything in that synth to get a copy of that original sound. So as you will hear also, there's some kind of difference. For example, on this one, let me go back into the right octave. So this one, in the synth, I have filtered it a bit, I guess, yes. I set an EQ at the end, so if I bypass this EQ, normally we should have a pretty similar sound. We can hear also that it didn't capture all the harmonics, but this is not a big problem. We can have some pretty close sound. But the thing we have, I mean, doing this kind of sound design is to have more option on the original sound. On the original synth, we don't have, for example, some pitch bend, but when we do the copy into the wavetable synth, we can know how to pitch bend. What is the limitation we have? For example, for this sound, it will stop at this F sharp. So I don't know, but I think it's F sharp 3. Okay, it will stop there. When it is into the wavetable synth, we can hit some lower octave and with a pretty good quality, even in the bass. So this is the first example of what makes interesting to get the sound print of some old keyboards. Okay, because now this simple clarinet is becoming a very great bass sound. So etc. So whatever new expression capabilities you want to add to the original sound, you can do it. And of course, as we work into a DAW, we can arrange in multi-tracks, etc., etc. So the idea here, I already capture the drum loop from this keyboard, and I will make just one example for you to see how I proceed. But before that, I will make you hear those drum loop. So this is the finished project, let's say. So for each of the 8 drum pattern, I made a clip. And now they are also mapped or recorded and prepared as the same tempo for all of them. So what I did, I chose on the keyboard the slowest tempo possible. So it will give us something like very slow. Okay, but when we sample like this, it means that each of our sounds are detached, and it will be very important for the next step, meaning if we want to slice this and make it play quicker. So for each of the pattern, there's a drum roll also. For example, if I hit this, let me get a good tempo. And if I switch here, I will have a fill-in. Okay? So I recorded for each of them the fill-in and the loop. So etc. So all of this has been prepared, and I try to keep the original groove of each beat, because it will be important later if we want to slice this to make some loops over our big drums, or even to recompose inside with the samples. The other advantage of sample the drum loop from the synths very slow is that when you will have, for example, some of the sounds isolated, for example, one kick isolated, and in another drum loop you will have the snare isolated, and perhaps in a portion of another loop you will catch the kick with no hi-hat and no snare. So this is why everything has been recorded very slow. Okay? So for the moment I didn't do the drum rack yet. I mean, I didn't catch the samples we play alone, but each of those audio loops are also available into some slice drum program. So what I did, each of those loops I recorded, I set them into some simpler, okay, and each MIDI pattern here is the sampler playing the loop in the original order. As you can see here, I fold it. Okay, and if we zoom in, we still got the slice swing of some notes, etc. So this pattern with the slice loop got three information: the audio loops, of course, also the MIDI pattern which play this audio loop, and in this MIDI pattern you will have the original groove and not position, meaning if you want to compose with some other sounds but with that same groove, just have to draw your pattern and replace your note exactly where those notes are. Okay, but perhaps we will see this later. Let's first give an example of how to capture a drum loop and make it usable for later, meaning the warping mode and a lot of other details which are important. So first I have my audio track here, and this is what tracking this keyboard. Perhaps I will reduce this image now. Okay. So first let's choose which one we want. So for example, let's say we want to capture that loop in particular. So that loop is called 16-bit. Let's give the audio recording name 16-bit. Okay, and now to know, as this is a tempo knob, there's no precise number. So to know the original tempo of it, we will use an option of Ableton which is called, I don't know how it is called, let's look at it. Okay, tempo follower. So what I do, I set my drum machine to the slowest. Okay, and this option of tempo follower, you will find this into option settings, and where it is again, I think it's in the MIDI and tempo, so link, tempo and MIDI. Okay, and in this you have the link option, but we don't need this link. And below you have tempo follower. And what tempo follower will do, it will listen to one of the audio input of your sound card and try to determine the tempo from it. Okay. So as I need to know exactly what is the original tempo of this drum machine to the slowest for later to prepare my audio loop, I tried this option and I find out that it is pretty stable and it recognizes even slowest tempo. The only low point is that below a certain tempo, for example, I know it's around 45 here because I already work with this keyboard. And but I see that Ableton below a certain tempo will show you the double of it. But you just have to be aware of the speed of what you hear, and you know already that even if it display 90 at the tempo, it's something like 45. Okay, so to have this follow box to appear here, you have to go into link tempo and MIDI and click show. Okay, for the show tempo follower toggle. And after that, you will choose the input, where is your keyboard or drum machine. So for me, it's my input to guitar, because I go through a saturation pedal with just a little saturation. I will switch it off for you to hear the difference. Okay. So I use it to boost the gain instead of pushing the output level of the keyboard. So from here, you just have to press play. First, click on follow. Okay, as it is set up, and you press play on your beat. I recall it's at the slowest tempo. So generally, you will have to play just a few bars the time for the tempo to stabilize. And I saw that even if your Ableton project is not on play, it will recognize the input tempo. Let's make another example. You see, it takes a bit of time, but it recognizes it. So I'm just saying that the OBS is clipping, so let me drop that level a bit. Okay, at least it doesn't clip. So as you see, even when I change the tempo, it will recognize it. So I know this is 90.67, so I will type my own self 90.67. Okay, so from now we have two solutions. If you want to really follow the fluctuation of your tempo, because this follow thing can be a drummer who is playing with some fluctuation in the tempo. If you want to capture this fluctuation, you will leave this follow switch on. But if you don't want to capture those fluctuations, for example, this is a drum machine, there's not that much fluctuation in the tempo, so you can switch it off. And I will tell you quickly why I switch it off, because if I leave it on, when I will press my recording for this loop at the slowest tempo, it will also record the slight variation of tempo. But for a loop that short, we don't need those information. It will mess up with our warp marker, etc., into the audio file. So I just use this function to recognize the tempo, and then I switch it off. And I will play this loop that's slow and record, and then I will make it match to the time one. Okay, so let's record that. So perhaps I have to switch off all my user instruments. Okay. Like this, record, and I press play here at the slowest tempo. I will take 2 loops to be sure to have it proper. Okay. So the symbol seems to be at the end of the loop. So now, quickly, let's go into that loop we recorded and see how we can set it clean. So I can go back in my auto. Let's listen. Okay. So I know this is the end of the loop. I will just take the second one here. So when I edit, I go back in option to show you something. When I do some edition, I disable this little option in the record wrap launch section of the setting. And I disable create fades on clip edge, okay? Because we are working with a very short time, and if we leave it on, each time we do a cut, it will add like a big fade, but we don't want to fade nothing for the moment. Everything raw. So this is the start of my loop here. Okay. So as we can see, there's more tempo fluctuations than I thought. So what we will do first, let's keep the last kick. Okay, so now my new audio file is this. So if you want to go the simple way of matching the grid, okay, so I recall that this is the end here, and normally that kick must be on that bar here, okay? So the simplest way is to go into that display, and you can hold the end of the clip. Okay, we know that the start of the clip is on bar 1, okay? So if you want to get it clean, what we need is this to be there. And we can time stretch it directly. If you put your mouse here, you can drag, erase or restore the recording. But if you press shift on it, you can move everything, okay? And let me show you the start. It will, in fact, time stretch everything. You see the starting point doesn't move. So let's go simple for now. So I click on shift and I drag it. Then we can even make it shorter like this to see what we do. So shift and drag it. I try to be the closest, okay? Okay, that's it. Okay, now to have the right display in the bottom display here, I will bounce this, not bounce, but they call it consolidate, Control J. Okay. Let me do a Control Z. It can be confusing at start, so I explain you something. Control Z. As my first recording was first not starting on the grid, and secondary, I time stretch it a little bit. On the original recording, which is this, okay, Ableton still keep the original timing. So we find our way into a more confusing time grid before we move, we cut and move, and we time stretch it. So to have a more clear vision of what will happen here, we must consolidate it. That way it will choose that first kick as the time one and display a righteous grid below. Let's do it. Control J. And now, as you can see, we have our kick and snare close to the grid. Let's play it. Okay, the second thing we can do is to maximize this. It was like 6 dB. Okay. So from here, you double check at the middle of your loop if everything is okay. It's a bit earlier here. So to keep everything in place, but to set this right on time, okay. I think it's important to put just that one right on time because the first one is falling right on time. So as I don't want to move too much of all of this, I will click on the last one, okay, and now I go into the middle and just place the middle one on spot, okay? That way it moves slightly all that was earlier and it moves slightly all what is after it. Okay, so we see also that if we double check, Ableton recognize each placement. So you have to double check most of the time also for the cymbals, because sometimes the start of the cymbals got no transient. So apparently it seems okay. So from here we know we got a loop at 90.69 and it's not very it's very precise but not very practical, so we will fix this also. So before I fix that tempo, I will listen again. I know that those open cymbals, I find them a bit loud, so we can also modify this before we will bounce our definitive loop. Okay, so I select it, 0, I 2 time, and let's set this minus 6 dB. Perhaps it's too much. Let's go for minus 4. Okay, and I do the same for the second cymbal. Okay, and I want to keep the attack of my snare. And I will do a small crossfade. So as always, as I'm explaining, it seems long, but when you know all those manipulation, it goes pretty quick. just instead of having to chase those open hi-hat, which will be too loud later, I just drop them down now. Okay, so now what we will do is set this this loop at its original tempo. As I said at the beginning, it's very slow, so we are more on something around 45 BPM than 80. So my idea is to consolidate it at the slowest, and that way we have all the samples to play it also fast. So I can consolidate it one more time to have it at the right volume for everyone. Okay, and now that it is consolidated, I can play it and change my tempo. We can listen also. And as we are playing with some beats, it will be pretty clean. You leave it as a beat WAP algorithm. Okay, I love it like this. That way I can also dry up this. Can dry up the samples. So okay, now I know I can change that tempo. Let's set it to a round number 90. Okay, and as we hear, it roll like at 45. So what we can do is to change the timing. So I consolidate it one more time. That way it's at 90 BPM precisely. And what I will do is to hit this half time, okay? And it reduces, okay, it reduces the length of my loop. We can also do the opposite, multiplying the time per 2. Okay. So what I do, I divide it per 2, and now this clip in particular is displaying the right BPM. Okay. And from there, I set the general BPM at 45 also. Okay, and now everything is in order, meaning that this is a 16-bit loop. And we know it's 45 BPM. Okay, so those manipulation by consolidating this, it's due to two things. First, we have to replace our recording at the time 1 and warp it a bit, set everything clean, while we keep the groove. Okay, and the second thing was that when it is too slow, the follow function of Ableton don't recognize like 45 BPM. It will recognize 90 BPM for something that is 45. But above 60 BPM, it will recognize and to the right tempo of your loop. So it's just for those two little things. Okay, and from there, we know that clip can be played at whatever tempo we need. For example, if we want to do a bit at 100. So this is interesting if you want to play with this loop as it is. But if you want to modify it slightly, you can do the thing called slice to new MIDI clip. Okay, so right click and we slice to a new MIDI track. It will ask us what we want to slice. If we want to slice the warp marker, which was the little yellow yellow flag I hit. Transient is all the gray flag. Okay, so we will leave it as a transient. And I have my own slicing preset for a multi-sampler. What can I have also? Slice loop. Let's take my slice loop. Okay. So I slice this. And now I got all of my loop. All of my slice. And if I play that clip that Ableton generated, let's solo just this. Okay, so now when I will change my tempo, each slices are no more dependent to the warping selection. Perhaps I should remove this also on each of the slices. Let's do it again. Okay. Because I forget to mention, so slice to new MIDI track. What I don't want is the Ableton to preserve the warped timing, okay? Because I want, when I change the tempo, no sound has to be modified. I want the original raw recording. So we have to switch this off normally. Okay. Slice loop. I switch it off. Okay. Because the good thing when you slice is even if you play at 200, okay, each sampler will play the whole sample. And if we do this via the audio clip, it may sound good. Huh? A bit less clear. More powerful. Let's listen like this. Brief. This is the first thing when you slice, is that you have each sample on a MIDI note. Okay. So which can give also the possibility to build your own loop. Let's take just this example. I take the half of it. Set it in blue, that way you know we are on this experimentation. Just to show you how we can change things. What we can do also is to activate the velocity of each sampler, but it's quite easy if you didn't do it. So let me remember where it occurs. So we have velocity to level here, and I already have a knob, a shortcut in my rack. So okay, that way if you change the velocity of some of the samples, it will sound better. So it's just for an example. And we can go again and again in this direction. Okay, So what I just show for half an hour now is to capture some drum loop, even of some analog machine, find their original tempo, and build them. So as I said at the start of this tutorial, I already did this for this keyboard and all the drum loops. And on this second track, I have the same with each of them into a sliced sampler. So we will go perhaps in detail later in what we can do. For example, use some arpeggiator in MIDI, what kind of thing we can use as MIDI effects to modify this. But for now, it's just a work of achieving the sounds, okay? So as you can hear in each of those tracks, there's some places where I can get, let's set it to 45, where I can get some isolated samples. So with those isolated samples, we will have to make a drum rack with one pad, one sound, like our own drum machine. So this is my recording track. So let's get back to the recording track. I can erase all this because I have this into the rack I prepared. So perhaps I will leave a few of those racks on the Patreon. Okay, that way you can explore the several drum loops in MIDI or in audio and a few instruments. I will see how I will dispatch this on Patreon. So now let's go and see how we can do to get the print of our instrument. So as earlier, I will first show you the instrument I make, and after this, I will explain how I did it on a single sound. Okay? So what we see here is the wavetable from Ableton. So to use those wavetable, you have to have a wavetable synth, so it can be Serum or Pigment or I don't know all of them, but a wavetable sound. So a wavetable synth will use some very short sample, generally the duration of a cycle, okay, and take this print to generate the sound. Yes. In an analog oscillator, you will have a current which will be modified and filtered, and this quickly will give you or a sine wave, or a triangle wave, or a square wave. Okay, as shown here. Okay, like the default wave shape of this wavetable synth. So in this logic, we can do a recording of one sound, and we can zoom in till we have inside a cycle of it. Okay, so a cycle will be one thing like that. So imagine an horizon of your audio file. So we'll try to get the shortest cycle in your sound. And then when you got the shortest cycle of that sound, you can set it into a wavetable synth. It will be the original oscillator inside instead of having an analog oscillator. And then from there, you can also modify slightly this sound and get it to another sound. So I will just make a quick demonstration on the old keyboard of each of the sounds. Okay, there's 8 sounds. So they are cheap, but this is for the example. It will work with whatever synth you have. So I will play all of them here and also here. Okay, so first let's select the piano. Okay, the second sound is a kind of electric piano. Let's say the second sound. And you see when I switch my preset, you see the wavetable changing its waveform. We were on piano, on this waveform. And here, electric piano, we are on the second waveform. I will pop up this level of this machine. So we can hear directly that the wavetable synth has more definition than this one. Okay. But all the short recording have been normalized, so that's why it's a bit louder. So let's go on the next one. The next one is the organ sound. So what I can show is I set an EQ on that synth. Okay. So in this EQ, we have also the signal of the original synth, which will display in red. Okay. And the synth, the new synth made with wavetable, will display in gray. Okay. So I use this technique if I want to match also the frequency content, as we can hear for a given sound. It's always a bit more shiny on that one. Okay. So let's follow on the next sound quickly. Okay, so etc. for not the 8 sound, but I did only 7 of them. But as you can hear, it's quite close. Let's go for a last one. Okay, so I could go even deeper in it, but let's go forward. So to simplify the use of this instrument, some people just want to play and not go into this all this detail. So I can close it and explain the front panel. Okay, so in the front panel you have the classic envelope, ADSR, the instrument type, this is something I can show the image. So this knob will change this, okay? Because Wavetable Synth, if you want to go even deeper in it, they can animate the transfer between some wave shape, okay, to give you some elaborated sound. So for example, some will put some LFO on it, and you will have your sound doing that. Okay, we will keep it simple for this example. But for me is to select each of the sounds of each selection from this keyboard. Okay, this is the instrument type. Then I have the warp option. So the warp option is this little percentage here. And when you will change it, it will like with a rubber band, your wave shape, you can stretch your wave shape. So let's hear the sound that it gives. Okay, so we can do this for all of them. And if we want the original, we stay at 0%. Sometimes just 1 or 2% in one direction can give you something, for example, make it more shiny or more dark, or change it. So let's go back to the this parameter. So I want to verify if they name it. Okay, this is the wavetable position. Last thing I would say on the wavetable position is the instrument is designed to have each different sound, but you have also the opportunity to set this in between two sounds and have a new wave shape, which will be a mix of the first sound and the second sound in the list. Okay, and I set the shortcut for a cutoff, a resonance, and the LFO, instead of set it on the filter or on the volume, I set this LFO amount to the warp section. And this is why you can see it tremble when I activate the warp here. You see? So my idea behind that was to add a bit of fluctuation and life into the signal. If I set the LFO amount to warp to 0, we can warp it, but there's no more wobble. Okay? And for example, on that sound, if we want a bit of animation, we will use our LFO amount. We can change the speed of it. So I really tuned it into the mapping section very slightly, meaning that it won't go crazy. It's just to add a little animation in the sound. And for this, I just use the simple matrix. So I have my LFO. I decided of an LFO with the rate and the amount locked into the macro at the beginning. And then I know I set also fade in, that I can't find it. But there's a way to make, yes, okay, this is the attack parameter. So normally it's at 0. And when you will press a note, this fluctuation will appear straight, okay? But I wanted it to come with time, with a slow attack. So I set it to 300 milliseconds, something like that. That way, when I press the note, the modulation don't come early on it. show the example without. And if I set a long value, so the modulation will appear later on the note. Something like 300 was okay. So this is the advantage also of preparing some wavetable from your instrument. That way you don't have to stick them onto shelf and play on them, or take some room into your music room. And secondary, you can extend the possibility, whether it's pitch, the number of octave it can play, whether it's a lot of things. For example, slightly modifying the original waveform gives you a slightly different sound. And if we take, for example, that clarinet I was playing with at the beginning of this tutorial, in the lower octave, we will have the perfect digital bass, early digital style digital bass, okay? Which would be impossible on the original instrument. If I set it on clarinet and I go the lower I can, it stops there. Okay. Now, as you can see, A, D, S, R are changing when I change my presets. Okay. So to get the exact envelope of the original synth, even if I find it limited, okay, for example, for the piano sound, it's a short note and no sustain at all. But my idea was to have this feeling that we have on this instrument. So what I did, I recorded each note. Okay, here you can see different notes I recorded. For example, the bass. This is one of the bass I recorded. And even if it's a little detail, but I zoom in and I see what is the length of the attack into this note. Okay. And what is the length of the release of this note. So if you look down here, you will see display the length of the selected clip. For example, here it's telling us that we have 396 milliseconds. Okay. So if I want to have it clean on my bass synth, because I also do a bass synth with the bass sound of that keyboard. Okay, so the warping, the bass type, yes. So you see my envelope of my bass. I set the release to 396 milliseconds. It's really nothing. It seems short, but as you can hear, this is this little fade note. Let me try on the bass. Okay, and if I set it to 0, you see it's too artificial. So this is how for each of the sounds, whether it's the bass sounds or the instrument sounds, I recorded a note of each of them. You can see the piano, the little electric piano. Okay, and this is not rocket science. You go into the file and you try to determine several sections of your note. Generally, you have the attack, the decay, and then the sustain, and the release. So for it, I don't need the sustain value, because if I hold the note, it will always play. but I need the attack information and release information to have the instrument to behave exactly like that one. Okay, what I can mention here, for example, we see for that organ note. Okay, if we zoom in, we see that we have an attack section, the time for the sound to go from 0 to the maximum. And then we have this portion, which is different than this wave shape, okay? So I guess at the start of each note on that sound, there's a little saturation or distortion occurring on the synth in itself. So this is something we can replicate if we want. So you just map the behavior of the note you want to sample, because it will be useful after you extract the single cycles. It will be useful to tune your instrument if you want to replicate exactly the behavior of each envelopes. Okay, so I think that's all for the explanation of the instrument. So I made it, I finalized it into Wavetable, because I guess most of the people got the Wavetable synth. But I did it also in Serum. Okay, that way if you don't work into Ableton, but you have the Serum synth, you can also have those sounds. Okay, and also Serum is the best instrument to build your own wave cycles. Okay, so we'll go into that just now. So I use Serum to prepare each of the image. Okay, each wave shape here is a different sound, and this is the envelope which will change the behavior, the global behavior of the sound. So just give me 30 seconds and we will go into this. Okay, so I will reduce this image one more time. So to go quicker, as I have already recorded several notes, we will just listen. So when you want to make some wave cycles for Wavetable Synth, you will choose to sample the lowest note of your keyboard. Ideally, we would need to sample a F sharp -1 or -2, meaning you have the F sharp 0, F sharp 1, F sharp 2, these are octave, and below the F sharp 0 you have F sharp -1, F sharp -2, etc. So ideally you will take the lower note. With this old keyboard and small keyboard, obviously we don't have some very low notes. So let's listen, for example, that piano sound. Okay, the second piano sound. 1 and 2. The organ, let me zoom in. This is attack. Okay. The pipe organ. Okay, etc. So in one note, let's take the piano example. What you will do when you sample one note of your favorite sound, the idea is to zoom in and to take a single cycle inside it, okay? And what I call a cycle is from ear to ear, okay? A complete cycle. And we see below it tells us that it makes 4 milliseconds. Okay, if your sound have an evolution in timbre or frequency when you press it for a long time, you can also, instead of having a single cycle into your oscillator of your synth, of your wavetable synth, you will have several cycles. And this is the moment when we talk about wavetable, because we will have several cycles. So let's imagine on that sound that the shape of that cycle is slightly different, like 3 milliseconds after it, and again different here. So we'll take each of those cycles and put them into a wavetable. But for us, we'll use this wavetable as a preset, a selector for each of our wave shape. Okay, so this wave shape is the piano, for example. If I go below, we are on the electric piano. We will have to find the exact same. So generally, you will take it at the zero crossing. So the zero crossing is when the waveform is crossing the horizon, minus infinite. Okay, so for that one, it would be something like this. Okay, if I zoom out, you see that that sounds, it's just that cycle repeated several times. And we see in that sound, particularly, that the shape of it, oh no, excuse me, this is a mistake. Okay, this is the shape of another sound. But we can see here there's a change in the wave shape. Okay. So for example, for those kind of sound, we would, instead of taking only one cycle, like this, for example, we would record all of them from ear to ear. Okay, because this is the same after all at the end. But we'll see this a bit later. We will first start with a single cycle. So for the example, we will use this organ. Okay, so I have a organ note. So we'll duplicate its body and go inside. I will select one cycle. Let's go into another software to do this. Because in Ableton, we can do that like this. Okay. But I don't find it very precise. We will try the two technique. So in Ableton, so you go to a zero crossing at the beginning of your slice. We know that the end must be here at the zero crossing also. Something like here. Okay. Yes, now I remember why Ableton is not the best tool to prepare the cycle. I will show you just now. So to have just this single cycle, for example, for my synth, I would have to consolidate it as a new audio track. Okay, a small audio track and not an audio track which contains the whole recording. I just want that slice. But when I want to consolidate something that's short in Ableton, Control G, Okay. Oh, it did it well. Sometimes, as it is too short, let's try another time. So I Control Z, I will copy paste that. Let me show you. Perhaps this changed the behavior of that function, but before that, as it was too short, when we wanted to consolidate it, Control G, it would add a silence at the end. But we see that nowadays they fix that. Okay, so that's great. We have our wave shape. When you play it, it really makes just a blip. Okay, so what the wavetable synth will do when we will load it inside, it will do that. So let's duplicate this. It will do that thing. Okay, I can duplicate it even more. That's so small. But that way you understand how will work wavetable synth when you give him just one cycle. So the wavetable synth will duplicate that cycle as long as you hold the note. Okay, so this is the copy of the same cycle, and here is my original recording. Okay, so we will consolidate it to go into the exploration of that, just to show you. Okay, so there's not a lot of differences between this and that. The only difference you have is, as this is an analog instrument here, you see some really, let me zoom in a bit, slightly change into the peak, okay? Some are shorter than others, but in my wavetable combination, everything is straight, okay? Because we are into the digital world and it duplicates one cycle of all this. So it's as we wish, but in the synth later, we can also replicate those little movements if we want to keep that analogish sound, okay? Or at least some current fluctuation. So this is the Ableton example, and I'm very happy that now we can just bounce some very, very small wave shape. Okay, so first we will drop this into a serum. Okay, so I will create, I will take the one I opened already. Let's go back to the original display. So let's forget about the second oscillator for now. Switch off the filter and set this. Okay. I have to switch. I will switch on only one oscillator. For example, I have this sound in it. So what you will do into Serum, first you will go into the menu and you go to the initialize preset. Okay, we will erase everything and go from the start. From there you will click on this little pen and you will have this display. Okay, what we need now is to set to put our short sample, which is here. Okay, this little sample in place of that. So we can select all the other image and erase it, remove, for example, remove current, perhaps, okay, I just keep one. if you are a bit geek, you can have some other information on this via another editor. So I will go into an audio editor. So if you don't know that trick, let me show you quickly. Here we have an edit button, and this edit button in each audio clip correspond to something like a shortcut for a media editor you can set into Ableton. So let me find back this user library. No, that's not it. Okay, that's here. So into the file and folder, into the setting, you can have a sample editor. You will have to browse your sample editor. So a sample editor can be, for example, Audacity. If you can do things in Audacity that you can't do into your own DAW, it can be SoundForge. Here I use RX7, for example. So generally, you will browse here and select the .exe of your audio editor. That way, when you select an audio clip and you click on edit, it will open your audio editor. Okay? So for me, it's RX7, and so I use it to prepare my cycles. Because of what? Because the roller below, I can ask this roller to display the length of it into samples unit. Okay, you can have sample, you can have millisecond, etc., etc. But in Ableton, for example, I can display the ruler or the unit into samples. And it's important because if I can tell to Serum how many samples I have from here to here, it will give me the exact and correct note. Meaning, even if your synth is slightly detuned and you don't have like a right pitch, it will detect by the number of samples sampled at 48 kilohertz. It will detect how many samples, and according to how many samples we have into that length, it defined one note. Okay, so can I select all? No, I can't select all. Normally it's Control A everywhere. Okay, so I select everything and I look into that box. Okay, and that box is telling me that the length of this is 168 sample. Okay. So now I can close it. I type into this editor 168, and Serum recognize that number as number of sample. If you are really a mathematic geek, you can even type some other mathematic formula, but when you type just one number, normally it will assume that you are giving him a number of sample that exist into your original recording. Here, our organ cycle. So let's click enter, and then it gives us our answer. So split I at 168 samples, meaning 263 Hertz note, and this is a C3 and 6 cents. Okay? So this is the exact note of what we have inside. So obviously you can drag it like this if you want, but I find it interesting that you understand why all of this. And even in the manual, it's recommended that if you know how many samples exactly you have into your wave cycle, it's okay to give it to Serum. That way it will be even more precise in the way it will deal with that cycle. Okay? So from here we have one cycle here, only one. We don't need more for now. And we will see how it plays. So let's go back into our Serum synth. So this is our organ sound. Okay. So for now we have the footprint of it. We need it to behave like this. I mean, with the same envelope. So this is when you will just go into the envelope of your synth and replicate that same tuning. So as I did that work earlier into the WaveTable synth from Ableton, I will just click on my organ preset, and I know that, okay, so for the organ, I know the attack must be at 15 milliseconds, decay 27, sustain -3, and release 26 milliseconds. So 15, 27, and 26. So I go here and I double click. 15. The old, I don't touch it. You see there's a fifth parameter in this envelope in Shieldrum, but for now we don't need the old. So let's go into decay. It was something like 27 or 26. For the release, the same. Okay, let's double check. Okay, 27, 26, and I set the sustain at -3. On the original sound, the sustain is at the maximum, meaning when we press, we don't have any drop in the level. Okay? So I will just set it -1. So the slight distortion you hear is because it's going into the distortion pedal. But yeah, this is the shortest way to replicate your sound. After it, you can add some other variation, as I did into the WaveTable synth, meaning you can use your envelope or the LFO to assign to the filter or whatever sound you need. One simple other thing I would like to do is to induce some slight variation into the pitch of the note. But really, when I say slight, is quasi below, how we tell it, 1/10 of a tone. It's really, really slight. Like I want to imitate some current variation in it. So let's try it. I will draw a note here. That way it will be easier to trig while I tune the synth. Okay. Okay, a bit too zoomed. And for that, we will use simply a random, meaning here you have some LFO, classic LFO, where you can set it to sine or square, etc. But inside of it, you can go into that normal box and choose some chaos one. So I will choose this low-end chaos. Okay, and I want this chaos LFO to go to the coarse, meaning the fine tune of my wave shape. So what you hear is this chaos modulation, but at its maximum, and speed also. But that way you will understand the idea behind this. So what we need here is to make this synth detune from time to time, but not a lot. So what will occurring inside is this modulation, but with less speed. I will set it to Hertz. Okay, very slow. And after that, I want it to be less deep also. This is really too much. With let me up that way. You see in the tuner that it's constantly changing pitch. Okay, so I'm going too far here. So you can set the limit, the depth of your modulation here. But what I prefer do is to go directly in the matrix. Okay, and in the matrix, all the LFO or envelope acceleration you do here, excuse me, you will find them in the matrix. For the moment, I have only one source and one destination. Okay, so to limit that detuning, I will just drop back this fader. Okay, let's increase the speed. Okay, and as you can see, we even need it to be more precise. So you have this first amount into serum, and at the end, at the output, you have another fader. And this fader is like a multiplier of the first amount you set. Or let's say a divider, because by default, it's at 100%. Okay, but if I want it to be less aggressive as a modulation, I can drop this divider. Okay, so to choose where I will set my faders for that random modulation of the tuning, I will open this tuner and look at the needle, and I just want it to oscillate slightly around my 0. So I let this rate up speed for the demonstration and to see how far on a long time, how far from the original tuning would go that note. I can even reduce it a bit more. It's really a little. Okay, and as you can see with the needle, I'm under 1 cent of a tone. So now I know this is well tuned. I can reduce the speed. And now when I will play this keyboard, I know that each time I will go, each time I will play a note, or with time, each of the notes will not be exactly the same tuning. And this is what will give me those slight difference I was showing here on the original sample, and that we don't find for the moment into the synth. Okay, so let's go back and fine tune it. So this is slow, and this is not modulation amount is very, very low. For example, my first one is -2%, and this is multiplied or divided by something at 2%. So it's really, really low. Okay, so I will just do this for now on that sound. The other thing we can do for the moment, we have assigned this little electric chaos only on the first oscillator, oscillator A. But what we can do also is to assign this kind of analog simulation to the whole synth, and for that we will go back into our matrix, and instead of going to the destination oscillator A coarse pitch, we will go to the global. So in the global you find what's concerned the globality of the synth, and into global we will go on the main tuning. Okay, that way, if later we add the sub oscillator and the second oscillator of whatever we want to add, all of this will be slightly randomized, and it will sound less straight, clearly less straight. Of course, we can go into the effect section of the synth and add a bit of a little saturation. Let's go into the distortion, go on tube. I will make it here. A bit of level. Okay, not a lot, just so at the minimum, this is what you could do in any oscillator, any wavetable synth. Okay. So now we will go on to the second example. Now let's say, or just to be quicker, I will go and select what I already did. Okay, so the way I show you how we select one of them here, one cycle, we can select some other cycle and addition this. So let me show you the example here. I will switch off our example for now, and I know I already saved my MT45 instruments here. Okay. So at the first view, this is the same. I have one cycle and I have one cycle, but when I click on the 3D view, we see that on that file I have several waveforms. Okay. And how I did this several waveform, I started by putting the first one as we built one earlier, 20 minutes ago. And then I build a second one and I drop it just after it. And I build a third one and a fourth one. And each of those cycles are in fact is each of the presets of the keyboard. Okay. So I can do a quick example for those who are interested. We will just on that first one add two of them. Okay. So quickly, let's go and seek some other sounds. For example, that clarinet sound is very great. So let's take the recording of the clarinet. Same way, we will zoom in and try to get the zero crossing. That time, in that second example, we will go into the audio editor to do this. So first I will just cut a piece of it and consolidate it. I don't need more of that. Okay, and I will go into the external editor. What's great in this, when you have another editor, you can find the option to snap to something. Sometimes it can snap to time, snap to a measure or whatever. And in this one, I can snap to zero crossing. Okay, meaning when I will do a selection, it will select first the zero crossing. Okay, this is the zero crossing. And it's very important when you want to work with sample or even wavetable, because you don't want no click into the cycle you will capture. Okay, so I will take, by habit, I always take the above wave before the second below wave. Okay, so I will select that. I know I have exactly 336. Okay, I know this is 336. Perhaps I can crop that or trim, Control T. Yes, that's great. And I will save this into my consolidate. Let's call it Chito Clarinet. Okay, just not to forget 336 Chito Clarinet. Okay, now I have that wave file. I can go into the folder of my current project, because this is where I saved it. Process, boot, consolidate. And we must have the Chito something here, Chito Clarinet. Okay, I drop it here, that way you see it. Okay, and now I just open my Serum. I could have dropped it into Serum directly, but it was to show the image of it. Okay, and instead of dropping it on the first image, I will drop it at the second box here, normally. But as I said, we can't drop it from here, so I have to drop it somewhere here and take it. Okay. I have first to select this. Now I understand. So apparently you have to select the empty box. It will duplicate your same wave, and from there you will set your sample on it. Sorry for all the move on the screen, but it was a bit laborious. So now I have my two different sounds. So the first one. and the second one at the end of it. They are not very different in timbre, but we hear more the difference in the higher frequencies. Okay, and from there we can add several of them. I guess you can add like 100 cycles if you want. So now I have this like that. I can do also another thing in Serum. If you are a Serum worker, let me show you this. So I have two images and I can ask to Serum to crossfade this image and give me the animation between this first wave shape and this last wave shape, and it will give me all the morphing between those two different sounds. And it's quite simple. If I remember well, we click on morph. I take the first one, crossfade. Okay, and now Serum convert all this into 256 cycles. And you can see that now between the two sounds, it's flawless, and we have all the image in between. Let's select another octave. Okay. So this gives a lot of possibilities, as you can see. The other way we can clone an instrument would be by sampling it note per note to have multi-layered velocity, etc. But I guess it's a more common technique. So. And it's quite easy, so you will find yourself how to do it. It's quite simple. For the sampling, you have to select your sound, and then you play each sound at the length you want it. Let's say you will sample each note at the longest length you guess you will play in the future. So, for example, 3, 4, or 5 seconds of each note. Okay, and it takes a lot of time too. And then each of those notes you will slice them into a sampler, as I did earlier with the drum loop. So this is a second technique. I find out that the wave cycle sampling is more cool because I get a good sound even in the low notes and very high notes. But with the sample, the limitation is when you will go above 6 semitone or 7 semitone above the original note sampled, you will get some artifacts. So it can be great when we want that crunchy sound into a composition. But if we want to build an instrument, it has to be clean, and then the user will see if he wants some dirt or some effect or phasing or whatever sound he wants on it. Okay, so it's been 1 hour and 40 minutes talking about just technique. So surely I could continue like this, but we will go on making something with all of that, because yes, I'm up to do this, and I want to stop to talk a bit also. What I could say, I will come again on this with some different instrument in the future. For tonight it was the CASIO tone. And what I wanted to say, I don't know for when, but what I explain for all of you who don't like to geek into keyboards and things like that, I will publish a pack with all the bits of that keyboard in slice and in clip, in audio clip, okay? For those who are here and not from start. So these are simple bits, but there's always something to do with it. Okay, so in the pack we will have all the loops of each drum pattern of it. We will have all the loops also and the drum break into some sliced sampler. Okay, and for the instrument, we will have one rack with all the instruments. I have to do the violin. I don't know if I will do it, but we have the MT45, let's name it right, instrument rack. And we will have the MT45 bass rack. Okay, so in the same model, but only for the bass sound, because as I said at the beginning, on this keyboard we have a very great bass here on the left of the keyboard, old school digital, and on this side we have the sound. So I made them two separated instruments. That way you are free to do what you want with it as a user. Okay, what could I say else on those instruments? So they will be available, some of them will be available for the Patreon as a reward, and it will be also available on Jideh Elements Gumroad. Okay, so this first instrument with 5 bass presets, and the second instrument with yes, the footprint of that old MT45 CASIO synth. Okay. So everything is simple. I kept everything simple for a reason. That way even beginners can use this. You don't need to open that. I will surely publish the Serum version also for people who work with Serum. It's not ready yet, but I will work on that. Just comment below if you are on Serum and you want this, and the next synth I will do like this. So I guess the next one I will work like that will be the PS55 from Yamaha, and get there's more sound, more different sounds, and some different drums in it. And if you have some suggestion of what kind of old toy keyboard we could rip like that and get the sound from it and make some usable instrument out of it, just tell me this into the comment, and I will go and see this. Okay, so now second part. I will make a little pause of 45 seconds. And for the second part, we will just use the slice drum loop and the two instruments. I will set the Serum aside. I can erase that. Now the tutorial is done. I can erase most of those things. Okay, the Serum, I will reopen it later. Okay, so we have CASIO MT45 instrument rack, bass rack, and we will do the drum rack. And I think what would be interesting also is to capture each different sound and set them into a drum rack. So we will do this to start, and then build a little rhythm, 1 or 2, with all this. For now, I just leave you for 1 minute with that little disco loop from this 9083 keyboard. Okay, yeah, I'm back. So let's choose a tempo and one of those beats to work around. Um, and I will work with the sliced version. Okay, I will choose that one. Let's go into the arrangement view. So what we can do first is to capture the groove of that loop. Okay. As I said, when it was recorded, it was wrapped, but I preserved the little groove we have in between the notes. You see, they are not on grid. So I will capture the groove of that, and we will apply later on that same groove on the bass loop we will build and all the keyboards loop we will build. Okay, and it's very simple, in fact, in Ableton to capture a groove. We just right click on it, and there's something called extract groove. Okay. So we will extract groove from that. Know that if you have only the audio file, imagine you have only the audio file, any loop you have, you can capture a loop and you love the groove of that loop. This works also on audio files, okay, to capture the groove of something. But before that, you have to double check that each hits got their own marker, transient marker. Okay. So, as I prefer to work in MIDI, right click and extract groove. And it's pretty quick when it's in MIDI. And you see into your groove pool, when you open your groove pool, that this groove has been added. Okay. So as we can see, even on that grid, this is not an heavy groove with some very strong note, but this will be enough to make the illusion that the bass, which is another instrument, and all the other synths are coming from this same machine grooving at this same slight groove. Okay, I hope you get the picture. So I will take a shorter portion of it. And try to build another bit into this. For example, here it is a kick, but I just want the hi-hat. Okay, what I can do also quickly is to set back the velocity sensitivity. By default, I set it to 0. Okay, because generally when you want to slice a loop, you want each hit to snap at their maximum, okay, because there's already some level variation. But sometimes you want it to be more expressive and have some lower hi-hat note or things like that. So two things you have to do: just lower down your level, or let's lower down the level of the loop itself. Okay, so for example, I will set it to -9. And as I have one sampler per loop, I will tell it to copy this value to all the siblings. Okay, and then bring this volume to velocity to 35%. This is a default in Ableton. And same way, copy this value to sibling. That way, no matter which loop I will use, this will work great. Okay. Okay, donc this, no, no, okay. I take only the hi-hat. Okay. And I will drop the velocity. Can select everything and bring everything up now. And what I want is just those notes to be accentuated. Okay. Okay, let's say this will be the start. So let's duplicate that one time and modify the first one. Okay. And paste the two loop. Let's see. Okay, and now another copy of that, and we will modify the last part of the copy. I have to hear back what I was thinking about. So tum pak tum tak tum pak tupak tukak katum. Okay. Tupak tupang katum. To cap directly here. Not that one. Okay, that's it. Okay. Now the wool. Okay, perhaps I miss one kick to pep to pat to patum. Not that one. Okay. Now let's see if we had some EQ or something like that. We'll make it go into the modern world a bit. So of course we could also reduce the level of the hi-hat inside the clip if we want. Okay, this will do for now, and a bit less of that. And let's pack this with just a drum bus and go onto a bass line. Oh, of course, I didn't mention it, but all those sliced drum are linked to a pitch knob, so I can have them to different pitch. So for now we will build the track with just that loop, but you guessed it, if we want to add a big kick and a big snare into that beat, we can use afterward this loop at a different pitch, or even animate that pitch along the track, but we'll see this a bit later. Let's go now for a bass line. So this is the bass of that little keyboard below. On steroid. So, for example, with this drum bus, we will decide in which key we will compose this track. For example, let's say G minor. Okay. That way, we will add some boom into that drum loop, and that boom will be in G or in what? Or A sharp or D brief. One of the notes which is in the scale and the strong notes of that scale. Okay, so G is the strongest note in the G scale. And that way I can remove a bit of the very low here. Let me set this as a bell. Okay. Reduce the drive. By default, they set the damp at 9K, but set it full open. Okay. Just that is okay. And let's set our drum at -3, something like that. Okay, let's go into the bass. So I will just improvise for a couple of measures and then we'll choose the best part. We'll work with that. Okay, let's fine tune that part. Ta-ta-ta. I hear someone here. That's not, that bass note, listen. There's a little bleep or blurp in it. And I guess this is because the aftertouch is assigned to something. Okay, and when I played, you hear, if I press, you see the little level press here. And this press is impacting the oscillator 1 warp, meaning the position of this. So look at here now on the wave shape, if I press, okay. So this is this warp parameter which is assigned to that press. So we have two solutions, or we can go into our automation here, envelope, and looking for the press into the MIDI control, channel pressure, and we see that there's some channel pressure information here. Okay, and we can reduce when they are too far. This is one of the options. And if you really don't need some aftertouch on your bass, the best way is to deactivate it into the synth. But I think it can be interesting sometime at the ends of the notes. Just have to fine tune it. But yeah, if we don't want it, we just double click here. And now no matter if we press or not, there's no impact. Okay? So here we are, MT45 redeem one more time. This will be the default bass loop. Let's continue to fine tune it. What I will do is to quantize it to 100% and then try to apply the groove we extracted from the drum loop earlier, okay, that MT45 groove. So let's try this technique. Okay, so let's go into that quantized thing. 116 seems to be okay. Let's select everyone. Okay, and modify this is a bit long. And we will copy paste the same here. So when you want to add one groove to your recording, it's important to be on the grid, because the groove will move forward all the other notes, okay, in a 16 grid. So it's better to have them quantize and then apply the groove. If you are very close to the grid when you record, you can avoid quantizing before applying the groove. So you know the trick, we don't see the notes move, even if we add that groove, but in the background it moves the note. If you want to see what are the displacement of the notes depending on that groove, you have to click on this little arrow. Okay, and now you will see all of the notes which are moved from their original place. Okay. Okay, let's forward with that bass. I kept earlier the spot. That one, I have it here. Okay, and here. Okay, we will quantize this last part, that we will have a variation in the bass. Okay, now control everything. Quantize this. Shorter note here. Let's double check with here. Okay. Am I still in the scale? Yes. And this last part will be the very end of the bass loop. So my idea was 3 clips of that first loop. Okay, and the last one will be that one. Okay, so Okay, I changed my mind, so it will be something like this. And that second one here. And to make it with more suspense, we will keep that last. Okay. Like this. Here we have the finished big loop of the bass. Now I hear my bass and I say, oh, I can modify a little bit that drum. For example, here, dun, dun. With a kick here. Yeah. Perhaps try a double kick here. More of that. Okay. Yes. Okay, this will be the new drum loop. More in tune with the bass. Now let's put a little effects on it, at least a room verb, and a bit of echo, and then we'll go on to some simple chords. Okay, I will look for my room preset. Send that drum in it. dry. We can work on that pre-delay by finding the millisecond for the pre-delay, the time of the pre-delay, depending on the tempo. So let's go into the tempo calculator. 90 BPM. Okay, something like 20 ms or 40 or 80. Let's try 40 ms. Without pre-delay and with, of course, it's too much still, but okay, from here what we can do is to filter a bit the hi-hats. And it is already filtered, but not enough. And the last thing I will do is to sidechain it to the same channel, but pre-effect. Okay, that way it will sidechain from what this effect track is receiving, the addition of the different sends of your project. So for the moment, I just want empty 45 sliced drum. Okay. So quickly, what's great now in Ableton is like you can filter out, you have a sidechain filter, which is effective even without the sidechain effect. And perhaps I can change this and listen in solo. That way, as you see here, so as I told you, this sidechain filter now on the compressor, it works whether you are in sidechain mode or not, okay? So it will filter the audio input, and that way you will choose which one will impact the compressor. Look at it. If I bypass the filter, even the hi-hat is triggering the compressor, okay? But what I want the compressor to do on that room verb is to pull down the verb only on the kick and the snare. So that's why I will use the sidechain filter. And as you see, it's filtered from the high frequencies, and I just have kick and snare, which trigger. Okay, now we know it's well tuned. We can remove the monitoring of this and send back the drum. A bit too much for me. Like this, it's better. Now we hear the reverb pump. Okay, so it will leave room for the impact of the drum. And now everything is set up. We can remove completely this send and bring it back high close to the right level. Okay. And as the I set always an EQ before the reverb, so that way it don't get all the rumble of the sub bass, so we can send also our bass into this. So it will get only the high frequency of the bass line. A bit less of the sidechain. Yes, greeting in the chat room, Mr. Peak. Yes, the drum got a good sound, This little keyboard, crazy. So before we go more far, we can quickly tune that bass. Perhaps just with an EQ, because I want to keep those high frequency for now. So by the way, this bass sound is also coming from the same synth. Something like that, or even a bell. Just for the groove, we could add a little sidechain on this also. So we'll try to do the same for this, taking the drum. So the slice drum, we are in shaper box here. Okay, take the volume. What else can I do? Yes, I want to filter that sidechain. So I put it in audio, sidechain mode, and we will filter the trigger to have only the kick and the snare. Okay, make it bigger. Okay, from there I will zoom in. Perhaps it's too much, something like that. Okay, before the time. Something like that. So yes, something like that. And perhaps not to the maximum. Okay, that will do. Now let's go for a skunk piano or something like that. So still with the sound of that keyboard, that time really cheap sounds, but that's great. That way we can add some more effects on it or whatever, moving the warp selection. Brief, simple assignment, but yes, let's find the sound. First, let's find the chord structure. Okay, let's go for something like that. Okay, same way I will quantize that a bit and assign the groove from the MT45 keyboard. Okay, the level seems a bit too loud. Perhaps I can activate the velocity to something. Already to amp, okay. Okay. Let's hear it with some other sound and add a bit of effect on this. First one is okay, second one also. I will keep this one and add a copy of it. And on this second we will take the electric piano. Okay, copy paste that last one. Okay, and what I want for that one is less velocity on the lower note. And now perhaps you can group those. And effect them. This shaper box is really efficient. Okay. So something like that, a bit of phasing and some echo afterward. Let's set it in triplet. Would like it to be slower still. And we'll set it only on the mids. Mids high, and why not a bit of drive on it. Flange phaser is a bit too deep. And just for the vibe, let's add an echo here. Now, just a break. 3 hours is soon end. Let's find a drum roll. Okay, so this is the 16-bit loop, and here it's the drum roll from it. Let's set it on the drums. Let's build a short intro. With that old school drum roll. I think we will start here. let's make a silence here and set this slice over the snare. Let's see also the velocity I choose for the other one. Okay, it's at the max. So let's bring all this at the max. And I want to remove the hi-hats. Okay, and I have to set this looper to play several notes at one time. So let's go inside it. Okay, that sampler. So where do I check this? Okay, playback, mono, poly. Boom. Why not trying a fake echo with that? I don't hear that open slice. So one voice, no, okay, two voice minimum. Okay, that way I can bring that open in another place, like here or here. And here. Okay, something like that. And I wanted to make a fake echo for this snare. Why not on a triplet grid? Something like that. No, like that. Too close, like that. It seems it will be more simple that I thought, like this. Okay, just that. And then the velocity here. Uh-huh. Okay, we got something here. And for inside the track, we'll choose just the half and put back the hi-hat in the drum roll. Okay. I have to find a way for it to match. Okay, so I will set everyone on 2 voice. And I can't do this copy value to sibling, so let's do it here. Just because I want 2 slices at the same time, but just on those sampler. Where is that last step? Okay, it seems to be easy to go far from the preset. Let's save it. So the echo is too slow and too long. Okay. Okay, this was a short demo with all those sounds. So very soon, I don't know when exactly, but I will soon publish those little instruments based on the MT45. So one rack for all the instruments, one rack for the bass, and one or two rack for the drums. Okay, and I will try to add also a folder with simply the wavetables. Okay, and also a first serum patch for that. But yeah, until then, you still can go on Patreon, Shieldrum Records, and also on Gumroad for some tools, some instruments, some effects. So yeah, go there and you will find some tools. Most of them are for Ableton for now. And yeah, see you in the next one.